Angelina Scriptor. So let's give her a welcome. So she's speaking to you today as the guest speaker on female leaders. In that since she graduated, in less than a year from graduation, she published her first book. She has now published a few books and is working on others. She started her own publishing company, her own social media empire. She's doing it all, okay? And she's just a few years out of high school. In high school, she took Latin all the way up to level 5. She earned college credits for Latin 4 and 5. She did earn the Seal of Biliteracy and was one of the first recipients of it in her school district. And as a sophomore going into her junior year of high school, the district was not going to offer Latin. And she wrote a letter to the assistant superintendent asking him to change his mind. And he was so impressed with her letter that he called her, this was during COVID, and said, okay, you get to have Latin 4, Latin 5, it's gonna run because of the letter that you wrote. So she's a pretty impressive young lady, and I hope that you guys will appreciate the message she is here to share with you today. And I will give it over to her.
Salve, everyone. How are you all enjoying so far? So, as you just heard, I too was a Latin student. I took it all the way from 7th grade through graduation. I was the first person in my district to ever take Latin 5. There were only 2 of us. But I never got to go because when I was in middle school, I got so particular about not wanting to miss a day of school that I missed out on it. And then by the time I was in high school, I never could go because of COVID. So you can imagine how special it is to me to be able to have come, even though I'm not a student anymore, as a speaker. So my name is Angelina Scriptor. That last name might sound familiar to you. It's because it's my pen name. It was actually given to me my senior year, and I've stuck with it ever since. I am the owner of Scriptors, Inc. It's a publishing company now, and I've published 2 books, both my own, Roses and Thorns, 100 Poems for Life, and a dystopian romance novel, Trees of Fate. When I was first asked to do this speech on Dux Femina Facti, a woman is the leader of the deed. A woman was the author of the achievement. Or in my modern translation, girls get it done. I laughed because I thought, why are they asking me to do this? I am barely even a grown woman. So maybe you can tell I'm actually not that much older than you guys are. I'm 20 years old. I graduated from high school in 2022. And as I read through the things that Ms. was asking me to speak on, things like starting my company, things like being able to become a business owner at 18, I realized, actually, I do know what I'm going to speak on today. So this is typically what my business card looks like. I like to go by the title author, poet, dreamer. But if you were to ask me what my real business card should look like, it would be something more like this. There's a lot on here, and I do a lot. When you first think of an author, you probably think someone who writes books. And to that I say yes, but there's another part of that, because I'm also a business owner. All of this is what comes along with following my trade, if you do it the way I did. I'm an author, I'm a poet, I'm an editor, publisher, book formatter, audiobook producer, voice actor, the list goes on. I do a lot. And when there's options out there like the traditional route of find an agent, get published, you might be wondering why I chose to do it this way. And to fully understand that, you have to know who I am first. I want to start this by asking, how many of you like to read? You can just raise your hands. All right, so we have a decent amount of readers in here. I'll follow that up with, how many of you like to write? And that can be just, any type of story. How many of you think to yourself or have thought to yourself, maybe I'll publish a book someday? All right. So I'm basically here to tell, in specifics, tell you that you can. That's actually an option, and there's a lot of ways to do it. And to the rest of you, I'm here to tell you, there's a lot more to life, and it comes a lot sooner than you might think it does. So I decided I wanted to be an author when I was approximately 3 years old. There's a family video that I actually have where my grandma asked me, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And I randomly started jumping up and down saying, "A famous writer!" I could barely use words at that point. I don't know why I said that. But apparently, it stuck with me. So this picture you're looking at over here, that's me when I was in 6th grade. The famous 6th grade graduation was fast approaching. And when they ask you, again, what do you want to be when you grow up? I wrote, undecided. Because I thought to myself, well, I'm going to need a real job someday. That's not being an author. But you can see in pen, right next to that undecided, that day that I got my yearbook, I wrote author with a question mark. And you're just going to have to take my word that I didn't write that in yesterday. So I clearly knew what I wanted to do. I knew what was my passion in life. But that didn't seem like something I could pursue at the time. What I instead decided to pursue was my academics. And some of you might relate to that. You're all in school. I hope you're, to some extent, pursuing your academics. So I thought to myself, I'm going to graduate with all the things that I possibly can to make life easier, right? And at that point, to get into a good college, to get a good career, those are the things you typically tend to think about. And, you know, a little sidestep in this, in the background, I was still writing. I wrote stories online, and I wrote poetry for contests, just little things for my own pleasure, but it was nothing really more than that. And in school, one of my big driving forces was my Latin class. It was the one class that I seriously loved going to every day. I hope some of you can relate. And when I was told, you probably aren't going to be getting Latin 4 next year, I was really upset about it because that was the one class that I felt like I hadn't given up on some part of my passions. I could still be pursuing it in that class. It was very relevant to the things I enjoyed. So I decided to write an email to my school. I didn't know if it was going to do much. Actually, the hopes were very low at that point. But I thought, you know what? I may as well give it a try because I really do want Latin. I don't know what I would do without it. Even academically, where I'm looking at, I want to be able to tell my college that I want to get into that I took Latin all these years. And I want to be able to say I took a language all these years, and I don't want to switch my language now. So you could see there's a lot driving me for this. And that was the COVID year. So I wasn't even in school. I couldn't even go talk to anyone. So I sent this email, and I got Latin. Not only did I get Latin 4, but I was going to be the first person in my district to ever get to take Latin 5. That was a huge deal to me because not only did I get the language I wanted, but it also showed me something. It showed me that, in simplest terms, my words actually have some power behind them. And it's just because I use these words every day. It is the one thing that I truly enjoy, is writing words and telling stories. And this just showed me that there's another avenue to that. I can use that same sway and that same passion and put it into getting more of my passions out there. Things like Latin that I'm able to continue pursuing if I just ask, if I just try. And that's something I wanted to tell you guys today, that there is a chance that if there's something you're passionate about, whatever it may be, there are ways to get there if you really strive to. So, Latin continues. Latin 5 happens. And this was super exciting because now that means, for the first time ever, my school can be offered something called the Seal of Biliteracy. How many of you know what that is? So, Seal of Biliteracy is basically some presentations you do to prove your competency in the language. For me, that was going to be Latin and English. And if you get this, the state will certify you that you have this ability. That's pretty cool when you are going into the future, applying to colleges, looking at careers like mine, opening a publishing house, and you could say, yeah, I'm certified both in English and Latin. But I had to get there first. So to be able to get the seal by literacy, first I had to prove myself in English. I didn't think that would be too hard, but still. I had to present any piece of literature and basically dissect it, and something happened because what I decided was I was going to dissect my own poem that I had written. And previously the reason I wrote this poem was because it was for a contest, never really went anywhere with it, but I brought it back, and now I was able to use this poem to present it to the English department and just talk about something that I wrote and I felt compelled about, and it led me to be certified in English. And then Latin happened, and I got to present to the Latin board, and I got to give this presentation on the Roman poet Catullus. And you might not guess this from me here today, but at that time, I was mortified of public speaking. Like, coming up here right now, my hands still get a little jittery, but this taught me something. Because I ended up presenting for 40 minutes, and that was not the requirement. I don't know what came over me, or I didn't at that time, because looking back, it opened my eyes to the fact that I'm not scared when it comes to the things I love. When it comes to the things that I am passionate about, I just go for it. It's something that I learned and I apparently stuck with. So I gave that 40-minute presentation, got my seal by literacy, and it led me toward graduation. Everything was looking great. My junior year of high school, I was accepted into my top college. I had credits from taking Latin 4 and 5. I had things that I could apply to my future. I had the seal by literacy. I graduated with highest honors. I had a 4.0 GPA. And as everyone threw their caps into the air, I felt empty, which is not the feeling I expected to be feeling that day. And it led me down this rabbit hole of questions of, why do I not feel so overjoyed and excited right now? And then I looked back, and I thought to myself, when was the last time I was truly passionate about an achievement that I had made? And I remembered that little girl in the 6th grade yearbook who was about to give up her dreams of becoming an author to pursue undecided. And I remembered her. So now I'm graduating, and I make the decision, I don't think I can go to college right now. This shocked everyone, because 4.0 GPA, why aren't you going to college? But there's other things you can pursue. And I don't want this to be a testament that just says, don't go to college. That's not at all what I'm trying to present. I'm trying to say, what are your guys' dreams? Do you want to publish a book? Do you want to become a teacher? Do you want to go to college? Maybe there's a trade you're interested in. There's a lot of things, and you're very young. And I'm sure you've been told that many times before, but maybe not from someone who's actually gone down the road, down that route, and isn't that much older than you. You can pursue your dreams, and you don't have to be like in your 30s, 40s. Some people publish a book at, I don't know, 50, 60, it goes on. But no, because I was fresh out of high school when I decided I want to publish a book. But there's steps, because you can't just have a dream and then it pops into existence. You have to actually have a way of pursuing it. You have to actually have a road that will lead you there. So the first step in my road was, how do I publish a book? Amazon seemed to be the easiest route, but I also, you could probably tell this about my personality by now, don't like just handing things over to people. I very much so want to be in charge of my work. I'm not going to spend years working on a passion project and then just give it to someone to do whatever they want with it. Maybe that means I have less sales at first, but at least I'll be the reason for those smaller numbers. So I decided to start a publishing company. Scriptors Inc. was born. That little logo in the corner is actually the logo that's on the spine of all my books, and I hand drew it at 18. So where did I start? Just by following the steps that the state wants you to follow. I turned it into a firm, took that firm and brought it to the Library of Congress, and then basically the Library of Congress approved me to be a publishing house. So tiny as I am, I own a publishing house. This opened a whole new avenue of dreams for me, because now if I publish anything, it goes to my house. That's crazy. And I'm only 18 at this time. So I started a website, I started Instagram, I started YouTube, all these different accounts that I'm basically going to use to broadcast to the world what I'm doing. And I'm entirely in charge of that. But it's something that I am able to continue doing as I see fit, as I please. And the more I started doing it, the more I realized, wow, I'm not just passionate about writing stories, I'm passionate about telling stories. And so in every YouTube video, in every little skit that I do, in any advertising campaign, in any speech, I started realizing I have more than just books to share, I have stories to share. And some of those are stories that I want a younger version of myself to be able to hear. Because at your age, I didn't know what I was going to do. At my age, people probably still don't usually know what they're going to do. But if there's an inkling inside of you that's saying, maybe I really would like to do that, maybe that would make me really happy in the long run, I say go for it. So now, I'm fresh out of high school. It's been one summer, not even months, just, I graduated high school and now it's summer, and then I published a book. It was available on Amazon, still is available on Amazon, and my publishing house officially had a name. I had my first copyright, and I had my first author photo in the back of the book. That's actually my senior photo. That's me at 18, maybe even 17 at that time, depending on when I took a picture, saying, yeah, I'm in school. Little did I know that that was going to be in the back of a book someday. But that, of course, it didn't stop there, because now this was my life. I wasn't in school, and I was determined to take those next 4 years of my life and dedicate them toward my project. I didn't want to let this go to waste. And by the way, if I was to be in college right now, I would not even be graduated yet. I'd still be in my junior year, just to put that in perspective for you. And then I published my debut novel, Trees of Fate. It's a young adult dystopian romance novel. And it was the first story that I was able to complete, edit, and put into the world. And yes, I've been writing for websites and stuff like that before, but never to this extent did I feel like my full project was available. So, with Trees of Fate, I was offered a lot of really cool opportunities. And it's because I just sought them out. I went out there and I said, there's things that I want to try to accomplish. I'm my own publishing house. I can make myself known. Let's give it a shot. And last year, I was actually invited to a book signing at Barnes & Noble. I brought in a massive stack of books, and I sold every single one. Minus the last 3, which the manager himself bought, and he stocked them in the stores. So now, at this point, at 19, you could find me at Barnes & Noble. I also learned, I took this experience from publishing Roses and Thorns to Amazon, and I got a marketing partner, or not marketing partner, but a distribution partner in Draft Digital. So they're going to print and sell my books for me. I do the marketing. And now I've sold books in Germany. You can find me in your local library. Just ask for me. You can find me in Barnes & Noble. I was able to go on the radio and give an interview, and do an interview about my book signing. And I've even been invited to the biggest book fair in the entire world. It's held in Italy. And I'm invited back every single year. This is my life, and I'm only 20. I graduated 3 years ago, barely. And it's something that is incredible. It's something that I wake up every day and I think, wow, this is what I'm doing. And it continues to be what I do. I continue to work on YouTube, Instagram, etc. I have my website where I list all my books. And more importantly, I'm writing and editing constantly. And these opportunities they show themselves when you pursue your passions. So right now I'm working on a collection of poetry books. I took inspiration from Roses and Thorns, and now I'm continuing I want to publish a collection of books, 100 poems in each book. I'm also working on a medieval fantasy novel series. That's going to be my big project that I bring to the shelves, which I started this at 14. Never did I think I could actively say, bring this to the shelves, and that would be a serious thing to say. And currently, because I'm always getting ahead of myself, I'm working on a young adult romance story, which I hope to publish next year. So what did I really come here to tell you today? Maybe not all of us are going to be the Queen of Carthage someday, but I like to believe that all of us are queens and kings in our own right, because the way I like to put it is, we're the author of our own story. And no matter what part of life you're in right now, it's a chapter. And you can choose to write that chapter as long or as short as you please, but you are in control of that chapter. So whether your next chapter is college, a trade school, a profession, or pursuing some dreamlike hobby, you can try. And there's always options, because really, you are young. So I just wanted to say, no matter what you choose to write, you are writing your story. Thank you all for letting me speak to you today.